For the past year, uh, Israeli citizens in the north of the country have experienced daily bombardments from Lebanon for the past few days. Lebanon has experienced some discomfort as well, which is why you hear about it in the news, whereas up until now, you didn't hear about it so much. We've been speaking about it as well for the past few days. We talked about the incredible operation where uh, thousands of pagers used by Hezbollah commanders exploded simultaneously. The following day, uh, I don't know how many, but I think hundreds of walkie-talkies exploded simultaneously. Lebanese people are afraid, especially those who should be afraid, the people involved with Hezbollah. Yesterday, Israel stepped up its bombardment of parts of South Lebanon where Hezbollah is active. Now, Israel has been retaliating against Hezbollah almost daily as well, but yesterday it did it a bit, maybe not a bit, in a more significant manner. And today, just a few hours ago, Israel eliminated in Beirut Ibrahim Akil, the reportedly second in command in Hezbollah. Now, just to be clear, and I have to look this up as well. But he is, yeah. So he was second in command. Um, and by the way, several senior, very senior officials were killed in Hezbollah, and Mohammed Raja, who is the second in command in the Quds Force of the Revolutionary Guard of Iran. So some important people in the uh, on the terrorist side. So Ibrahim Akil was became second in command after the second in command was killed a few months ago, and also replaced he replaced a couple of people. One whose name I can't at the moment find. The other is Fuad Shukr, who we talked about, who was eliminated the day before Ismail Hania was eliminated. So yeah, terrorists aren't safe. Now, the beauty of Ibrahim Akil and the way he was he was eliminated was he was injured in when his pager went off a couple days ago, and he had just been released from hospital today. And as he was heading back into the world, he gets eliminated. According to some reports, 8 people died, 60 were injured, which is another one of those moments where people might say, you know what, being in the vicinity of Hezbollah might not be in our interest. And they might say that in terms of as an individual being around somebody from Hezbollah might not be in our interest. But at some point they might get to the point where they think, you know what, as Lebanon as a country, it might not be in our interest, which is, of course, what I would really like to see Israel do. Um, Israel's opportunity here is to strike not just at Hezbollah, it's to strike at Lebanon, to strike at Lebanese military and civilian facilities and infrastructure, and to strike and then say, we don't want to strike anymore at Lebanon. We want to get rid of Hezbollah. You want us to keep going, we will keep going. You want us to just go after Hezbollah, you have to take part in that. You come at them from the north, we come at them from the south. That is the deal that should be on the table for Lebanon as a country, for the Lebanese government, for the Lebanese people. Even if you know they're not going to take it, you at least put it there in front of them so that anybody in Lebanon who might be decent, as we mentioned, this is not the Palestinians. Many in Lebanon would like to see the Jews wiped off the map, but not all. And not all are as committed to that cause as among the Palestinians. So yeah, maybe try to see if you can encourage the people of Lebanon to reconsider their acceptance of Hezbollah as representatives, de facto representatives of the Lebanese people on the world stage. Thank you, Bull Moose, for the super chat. Bull Moose says yes, testicular discomfort. I think that's that's downplaying it. I think it's a bit more than discomfort, but yeah. And thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat as well. Did I say welcome to the Daily Objective? Well, you are all welcome to the Daily Objective. And Daniel, your thoughts on current developments, the latest developments in Lebanon.
Yeah, so the biggest message, or sort of the biggest news, have been the killing of Ibrahim Akil. Just a few hours ago, I've just been reading reports that he is supposedly dead, or that he was targeted, or that he might be dead. And yeah, it seems like we have a confirmation now. I was really surprised when you said he is the second in command, because I immediately thought, wait, didn't we already kill the second in command of Hezbollah? And yeah, then I realized, yeah, once they get replaced, people get promoted. So yeah, it's not unimaginable to see that many second in commands, or that a couple second in commands might get killed one after another. But again, just because I'm not sure if you mentioned it, so he is a designated terrorist by the U.S., mostly for his alleged role in the 83 U.S. embassy bombings in Beirut, as well as the U.S. Marine barracks attacks.
I
So
don't think
again,
you need to say alleged. I don't think he's going to sue us or can, but anyway.
that's what it said in the article. So I don't know why it's alleged, but just if I get to heaven and he won't sue me over my thing, I'm saving that. Um, but yeah, so this is a long time member of he is. I mean, he did deserve the second in command. I mean, for that, Fuad Shakur had to die. So again, none of these people are any low-ranking members. So again, it's great to see that pretty much, in a sense, I've been corrected since when the pager attack started, or well, attack when pager started exploding. I was saying I'm really hoping something more will come out of this. There will be some follow up. I was hoping something would start at the same time, but I was more hoping there will be follow up. And this seems like a really good follow up. Like it's really hard to criticize it. Uh, we might even want something more, but this is a big deal because again, just remember when Nasrallah was doing his speech. While people were listening to the speech, you could hear the sound barrier breaking because of the Israeli jets flying over Beirut, bombing. Uh, Again, one of the things Nasrallah has made in the speech was that this attack, this pager attack, it was just low-ranking members. No one high-ranking was targeted, or no one high-ranking was killed. Nothing bad happened to them specifically. Like it was just targeting like um, sort of like small-time terrorists. Uh, which again, don't even believe that even wasn't true. But again, now we see Israel targeting many and many like actual military installations, actual rocket sites, pointing towards Israel. Again, great to see. And of course, what you see in situations like this, terrible commentary from everyone else. I've been watching, so I live in Slovakia. There's one like news show or podcast I like to listen to a lot. It's called Good Morning. I think they produce pretty much every day a podcast besides Sunday, I think. And today they had an episode on this pager attack, and the commentary there was just terrible. I mean, they called what Israel did a terrorist attack. The whole thing, like complete surrendering. Also, the way they sort of discussed they almost discuss everything neutrally, like when Israel sort of did the bombing in Syria, trying to remember what exactly it was. the way they portrayed it is like, now that this happened, and also after they killed Haniyeh, Iran just like had to give a response, so they launched the attack, but they let Israel know they are launching the attack so they can better prepare for it, but they have to like stand the ground and they have to like show something. And it's like, what is this like commentating of like geopolitics? Like, do you have like any shame? Like they have to, or these dictatorships like have to act in a certain way. Like why do you need to, show them as some sort of like rational actors? Like they are dictatorship. There's no like they it's okay when they do it. And a similar thing I've seen, I'll just mention one thing from we will talk about this on the reality show, but there's one part of the Piers Morgan, and I don't think we'll get to it. But there was a former Israeli spokesperson for IDF, and he was talking about how he said something like, if that this Israeli attack wasn't a terrorist attack if it was done by Israel, but it was it was in a sense a fair game. And if Hezbollah would do it, it would also be like okay. And when I heard that, I was also like really like taken back, and I was wondering again, like what is that sort of thing? And then I realized the way people look at, again, they look at war or like international conflicts as neutral. Like as long as you don't commit war crimes, it's okay. Like if Russia didn't commit any war crimes, it somehow would be better. It somehow would justify the invasion of Ukraine. It would make it less bad. I mean, again, that's sort of I guess realist or realpolitik view of geopolitics that if you hold by the rules, it's somehow more acceptable. Again, like no action by Hezbollah is justifiable. It's like a terrorist organization. Even if they hold themselves to every single standard of international law or international conflict, they would still be evil.
Yeah, I actually listened to the whole Piers Morgan, like the hour and 20 minutes, but apparently I wasn't fully focused the whole time, and I missed that part. And my co-host on my Hebrew podcast mentioned it there, and yeah, that's shocking. It's especially shocking because I thought this Israeli spokesperson was surprisingly good for somebody who Piers Morgan would have on his show. But yeah, we will talk about that on the reality show. Okay, some super chats. Thank you, Deeper with Diego. Diego says, for decades, anti-Semites said Jews control the weather. Ironically, they're not that far off of reality. And Bull Moose says, can't send this super chat here, so I'll email it. Thank you for the super chat. I'm already worried about what Daniel is about to send me here in the Zoom chat. Cargo Crew says, wanted to see James Valiant's take. Well, James will be on tomorrow's episode of the Daily Objective, so you can hear his take as well. We will be talking about, something to do with this topic. And Christian says, do they still need to Manscape? I don't know how much of a popular thing that is in Arab culture, but anyway, that is beside the point. Uh, I had something of substance to say, but I forgot what it was. Yeah, on the point of Hezbollah, not being in the news when they attack and Israel doesn't respond. Um, when it's in the news, it's considered as if it's something completely separate from a separate entity from the Lebanese government, which in a sense it is, but it completely separate, and Lebanon is somehow not responsible at all. Whereas when you hear about settler violence, which often is made up and perhaps does actually happen sometimes, it is always blamed on the state of Israel. Always. Like this is how the media reports it. The media does not report what Hezbollah does as acts of the state of Lebanon, although they are. It's not Lebanon firing the rockets, but it's Lebanon not doing anything about the rockets fired. Whereas, by the way, in Israel, if a settler is caught actually committing violent attacks against Palestinians, they will face, legal consequences for that. So, yeah, it is, again, shocking the way the media reports it. The media really is struggling a lot. We've talked about this the past couple of days, struggling a lot with the Pedro attack because there is no way to, ultimately you are saying everything is fair game for those who want to kill all the Jews. Nothing is fair game for Jews to defend themselves. The only thing Jews are allowed to do is die. That is the essence of any attempt to criticize this incredibly targeted attack, and yet you hear such criticism.
Yeah, and it's also important because I know also people in the chat are pointing that out that, the existence of Hezbollah itself is, in a sense, breaking of any sort of standard of international law, basically, and saying that people are not holding them to the same standard. But you have to realize it's the thing is, you don't destroy the good, or sort of you don't destroy the good nations by attacking them directly, or by sort of undermining them themselves. What you do is you equate them to the evil nations, to dictatorships. You say, and when it comes to this discussion, people will ask, well, do you also condemn Hamas? Do you also condemn Hezbollah? And they'll say, yes, I condemn them, but Israel is doing the same. Israel is basically the same thing. And that's what they use to basically destroy any sort of resemblance of, the fact that Israel is doing the right thing. They always try to make it so that it's all the same. It's all the nations. If Hezbollah does this attack, if Israel does this attack, it's basically the same thing, and the only thing we are looking for is if it's right according to some sort of like international law standards. Which again, I think we might have to do like another episode on the idea of international law again, because again, it's such an incredible concept. Like, whoever came up with this was like set on like destroying any idea, any sort of idea of like a nation actually being able to defend itself. Because again, anyone who uses, or maybe it might have been started with a good purpose, sort of like bring civilization into the war, or bring some sort of standard specifically for like healthcare workers or something like that. But again, the way it's been used is pretty much the country cannot protect itself. It's impossible. And again, you can see it in this attack. Like, and again, I've just recently heard, like, when people are reporting on this attack, the fact that more than 3,000, or I don't know if even like 4,000 terrorists were specifically targeted and either wounded, killed, maimed, that's besides the point. But let's report on the supposedly two people or two civilians who were killed or injured during that attack. And again, this is reported by Hezbollah and not verified by any source. Actually, it's just being put out there by Hezbollah. Again, that sort of like focus shows you that it's clearly not about any sort of like trying to preserve civilian life, trying to make sure we are adhering to some sort of laws while pursuing war. No, it's basically Israel just shouldn't defend itself.
Yeah, the people who told us October 7th didn't happen in a vacuum and essentially justified that attack will, of course, not say, look, it didn't happen in a vacuum. If an innocent person is injured when they're standing right next to a terrorist, it is the terrorist's fault. That you don't hear again, because ultimately what their goal is, we know, viewers of this channel know. So Bull Moose's super chat from before is Lebanon said they'll join Hezbollah if Israel invades. We might have to destroy aircraft and other assets preemptively, which would force us to declare war on all of Lebanon, not just Hezbollah. I mean, that is a great story. I approve of that message, but you're forgetting who's running this war. Netanyahu, if a pager exploded in his pocket, it wouldn't cause any damage. The guy doesn't have the cojones to do what needs to be done. So, This is unfortunately, and even now, when we see some things happening, it's all with excuses of why the full operation can't be put into play, which was supposedly what was planned after the pager attack. Um, because Biden wouldn't let us, or whoever wouldn't let us. Anyway, Alhamdu Shawarma Al Falafel Ibn Tahini Jr. Thank you for the super chat. And I always enjoy every super chat, but a super chat that means I have to read that name is always extra special. Alhamdu Shawarma Al Falafel Ibn Tahini Jr. says, the words you're looking for are their kiyum is a war crime, kiyum existence in Hebrew. No matter if they follow war laws or plant flowers, censorship is strong with YouTube. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, they are against the existence of Israel. Some of them say it. Some of them say Israel has lost its legitimacy. They say it kind of as if they try to justify their explanation for it. And of course, all of them mean Jews when they say Israel or Zionists, but they just don't say it. Susie says lots of them lost both eyes, so I wouldn't recommend manscaping blind. I would. Any Hezbollah operatives watching this, you can manscape blind. Allah is with you. He will make sure nothing bad happens. And if not, well, you know who to blame. Daniel.
Well, let's go to our today's sponsor, Manscaped. No, so so you mentioned Lebanon, or who sent the super chat? Blue Moons has mentioned Lebanon, sort of saying that they'll join Hezbollah. So Lebanon has pretty much from the start. Again, if anyone had any illusions that like Lebanon is somehow like different from Hezbollah, or that Lebanon is, trying to stand up against Hezbollah in any way, which is, including them in the government is a pretty weird way to stand up anyway. But also Lebanon is already sending a mission to the UN, to the Security Council specifically, basically, you know, about Israel's supposed involvement with the explosives, and they're actually, the Security Council is actually supposed to meet today. I didn't check what time it's supposed to be, but we might have an episode out of this, depending what happens. But again, I think it's most likely will go to the typical result: US against, UK abstained as always, and the rest of doesn't matter really. But again, you can see that Lebanon is clearly like is just doing whatever Hezbollah wants, or sort of it works both ways. Lebanon and Hezbollah are basically indistinguishable, because again, even though we do advocate for the attack on the Lebanon itself, even though we do say that, yeah, basically Lebanon is 100% like helping Hezbollah and giving Hezbollah legitimacy, or just the fact that letting Hezbollah exist, letting Hezbollah launch rockets on a free state is completely like giving up any sort of legitimacy that a country can have. But even then, you have to realize that attack, supposed attack by Israel, the pager site, was specifically targeting Hezbollah members. It wasn't, just general Lebanese politicians, although there's, sometimes you can never tell. But it was specifically targeted Hezbollah. Again, if Lebanon had any balls to stand up against like a terrorist regime that supposedly is occupying you, or supposedly is like controlling large parts of the government, if you don't want it, now is the best time to stand up. Yet, what do we have? Lebanon is going to the UN. We had the Lebanon prime minister basically saying this was an attack on Lebanese sovereignty. Again, the existence of Hezbollah is an attack on Lebanese sovereignty. So it's clearly not about that. They don't care about any sort of actual legitimacy across, as a free nation. They are completely, in hands with Hezbollah.
Um, who was it? Best Monster asks, "What do you guys think about Naftali Bennett?" So I want to address that in part because we're talking about Netanyahu, but and we're criticizing him, and the question is, what is the alternative? And in part today there was a poll in Israel in which if Naftali Bennett runs forms a party and runs for parliament, his party would be the biggest party. It would get 21 of the 120 seats. So it'd still have tough time building coalition, would have to buy many other parties, and yeah, that's what it is. We don't mince words here when it comes to Israel either. Um, the problem with Naftali Bennett, he's just like Netanyahu, a great spokesperson when he's walking around. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he's good at it. He can speak, he's relatively, compared to most Israeli spokespeople, he's good. Uh, the fact that when he was prime minister, I understand that a politician wants to be prime minister. They're in it. They're in that game, and that's the biggest job there is. But he was prime minister who was propped up by an Arab party, an anti-Israel Arab party, the only time in Israeli history that an Arab party was in government. He was with Lapid with this, weird thing where they switched prime ministers. And when Lapid was prime minister, they basically, gave Hezbollah a chunk of the natural gas there that Israel has. So it's you can be great rhetorically, but if you're actually in a position to do the things that you advocate for and you do the exact opposite, that's problematic in terms of judging you as a candidate for the future. Now, again, is there anybody else who's viable? I don't know. I mean, it's a problem for Israel, which is why, by the way, in the poll where there is no party with Bennett as leader, Netanyahu's party, Likud, wins the most seats, 24. So yeah, it's tough. It's very tough for Israel. I would love to see a party that actually says, look, we're running on one issue, and we're going to unite whoever's on that issue, and we're not going to talk about any other issue. And once we get that issue sorted, we're going to call an election. We're going to disband and like form different parties. But the one issue we're running on is destroying Israel's enemies once and for all, doing what needs to be done in Gaza, which is not what Israel has been doing what needs to be done in the West Bank, which Israel is waiting for the West Bank to do its own October 7th before it does part of that. Doing what needs to be done in Lebanon, which is completely eliminating Hezbollah, removing Assad from power, and removing the Ayatollahs from power in Iran. Then that's the only thing that should matter in Israeli politics. There are a lot of things I'd love to see done. I'd love to see taxes reduced until they're completely eliminated. I'd love to see religion become a private matter. I'd love to see individual rights, be respected. And Israel is, the most likely country in the Middle East to get all of these done, which is why we support them. But no, first defeat the enemies and then go on to that. Speaking of enemies, Cenk Uygur and Candace Owens joined Piers Morgan for what was, well, you can probably guess. But if you can't, and even if you can, you should join us on the reality show. We're going to be talking about this thing that happened a couple of days ago on Piers Morgan's show. That's, I think, the best way to describe any Piers Morgan show. But there was an Israeli spokesperson who, other than justifying Hezbollah attacks on Israeli soldiers, was pretty good. So yeah, thanks for watching. And we'll be back with the Daily Objective tomorrow. But the reality show starts in a couple of minutes. See you there. Daniel, parting thoughts.
Bye.
All right.